Does he deal with it all on his own, or does he dial a friend? Does he go somewhere and get some help? I think it's more likely he got some help. There's some very strong indicators that there was someone there who had extensive knowledge about forensic awareness.
I'm Ashlea Hansen, and you're listening to episode 15 of Dear Rachelle, the final episode of this season. Thank you for following this live investigation into the unsolved murder of 23-year-old Rachelle Childs. For 24 years, her killer has been on the run. Every listener, every piece of information, and every new witness brings us closer to the truth. We began this episode with the voice of FBI-trained criminal profiler Kris Illingsworth. She's been working on a profile that Rachelle's killer may not have been acting alone. Soon, you're going to meet a forgotten witness whose crucial information from that night could help strengthen that theory. But his statement could be sitting in an officer's notepad, collecting dust in a police archive. First, let's go back to 7 Mile Beach, Geroa. This time, I'm with my colleague, Patrick Carline, and we've come here at the exact time Rachelle's burning body was found more than 2 decades ago. Look how dark it is.
It's so quiet, isn't it?
It's only our light that's lighting up this area.
Yeah. It's pitch black and...
You cannot see a thing.
No. But you know the trees are above you, don't you? You can hear the surf in the distance.
Yeah, you can hear the ocean.
Yeah, I was here for about 20 minutes before you got here, and not a single car passed. And this is about it's 2:20 a.m. It's the same time as Rachelle's body was, detected on fire. And it just feels like the loneliest place in the world, doesn't it?
And it's raining.
Yeah.
Like the night that she was killed.
That's right.
I just think that the killer knew this spot and knew this area well.
Well,
to come here, it's still a strange spot to pull up on the side of the road, even though we haven't seen any cars.
No, that's right.
It's still risky to have your car.
Well, it's very risky. The moment a car comes, you're being sighted, aren't you? And perhaps that's exactly what happened in the hours before Rachelle's body was detected. There were, 3 or 4 separate sightings of a car that matched hers on the side of the road. A man sort of standing over a body in one of those sightings. But it's high risk. But against that, it's so lonely here and so dark.
And isolated.
It's just us and the elements, really.
Let's just go in and see how difficult this tank is to find.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Well, there's a track that leads down, and Kristy remembers that branch.
Oh, wow.
This track leads to the beach.
Yeah.
You can hear the ocean.
You can. It's a sort of dull roar, isn't it, in the distance?
And here's the tank.
Yeah.
At the time, it was that concrete lid.
Yes.
And so a little higher, so it would have probably been a little more noticeable.
You could walk past this from...
To come here and just stumble on this spot. The killer knows this area well, is familiar with this road.
Yes.
Has probably travelled it many times before.
I think there's something brazen too. I mean, we're only, 8 metres or 9 metres from the road here. It's not that far off. Look, the frustration for Rachelle's family obviously is, even now, so long afterwards, there are so many lingering questions. There are so many facts that haven't been filled, except for the very obvious fact that this should not have happened, and whoever did do things that led to such evil in this place really should have been put in the cage a long time ago. And that must be galling, and, you know, there are so many words to use to try and describe that haunting that they must feel.
I don't want to stay here any longer than
No.
is necessary, so let's get out of here. Let's hope we can bring Kristy and Anne some answers after all of these years.
They need them and they deserve them.
We sure do.
We've spoken to hundreds of people to get a better understanding of the weeks, days and hours leading up to the night of Rachelle's murder in June 2001 and the missing 9 hours on that fateful night. New witnesses have come forward to help us piece together this tragic mystery. We've tracked down experts to analyse the brief of evidence with fresh eyes. The phone has been running hot and our email has been inundated with people who want to help.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. That's very pleasing email I got from you.
Yes, it's. I think it's hard evidence, to be honest.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Tell me more about it. Who is this guy?
Look, apparently he's the only court credible independent expert on phone digital data, and he's done a lot of big cases like the Mushroom Cook trial just here in Melbourne. He was up on the stand for a couple of days, I think 2 or 3 days, just the other week. He's sort of internationally recognised. He's a superstar of phone digital data.
Soon after my call with Patrick, I was on my way to Adelaide.
So my name's Matthew Sorrell. I'm a digital forensic scientist and professor at the University of Adelaide in digital forensics. I've been working with mobile phone networks since 1998. To date, I've worked now on about 400 cases for law enforcement, for prosecution, for defence, mostly criminal matters, occasionally some civil matters, dealing with a diverse range of digital evidence. I was asked by South Australia Police to assist in the first case in the world where we had Apple Watch data as part of a murder investigation. And these days, routinely, I deal mostly with mobile networks and the records that we get from mobile networks. I deal with the fact that you're holding a phone that you carry everywhere that's recording everything you do. And how can we use that information to better understand what happened in the context particularly of a crime? We're really interested in how we can model, not necessarily where you did go, but where you could have been.
We've talked a lot about key locations like Picton, Camden, Campbelltown, Tahmoor and Bargo. If you're not familiar with these areas, it might all sound a bit scattered. But let's give you a lay of the land. Picture high, steep hills, lush and green, covered in trees. That's the Razorback. Razorback Ridge cuts across the Macarthur region in Sydney's southwest. It's a defining feature of the landscape. Standing at the lookout on top of the ridge, you can see for miles. To the east lies Campbelltown, a growing city about an hour from Sydney's CBD. To the west, the rolling farmland stretches towards Picton and Camden.
The technology that we're going to bring to Rachelle Child's case is 2 things. One is that we're using what's called a digital twin, so we can model the topography around Picton and around that area to see where the radio signals can reach. The problem with field measurements is I can say, yes, if you were at this location, you could connect to that base station. But it doesn't answer the reverse question. If I connect to that base station, where could you have been? And so it's a very biased question. When we look at the area, particularly around Picton, in a 3D digital twin model, we can see everywhere that radio signal could reach, but also where it couldn't possibly reach. And that gives us a better objective insight into what's possible and what's not possible. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing that we have is a model that looks at movement. So this is now, if I see somebody at this location and an hour later I see them at that location, the sensible question is, how do they get from here to there? And you can use Google Maps, you can use any of those tools and go, well, here's the fastest route that shows that it's possible. But that doesn't necessarily mean you took that route. So we've been thinking about that problem, and we've recast that as not how did you get from here to there, but where could you reach in between?
You'll remember from Rachelle's inquest, Peter Singleton had a strong interest in mobile phone calls linked to Rachelle's boss, Kevin Stephen Carell, on the night she went missing. For transparency, we don't have all the call records and mobile phone data connected to Rachelle's case. Some of that information has been redacted in the brief of evidence we have access to. But we do have detailed information about 4 key phone calls to and from Kevin's mobile. Kevin made a call at 6:08 p.m. to a number almost identical to Rachelle's, but he wasn't forthcoming about that phone call until he was reminded about it in a police interview. That call connected to a person in Queensland. Dr Sorrell has a theory about that call.
Back in the day, you didn't have a contact list in your phone. You had a contact list on your SIM card, and it would only store about 100 numbers. So you would be pretty selective about what those contacts were, and it's a bit tedious to get them in there. For those of your listeners who are old enough to remember typing in where you've got to use the 1, 2, 3 keypad and typing a text message, let alone typing somebody's name in, it's quite a tedious process. So it was really common. You didn't actually have all of your contacts in your SIM card. So the idea that you enter that number, you type it in because you've memorized it, right? We don't do that anymore. But I'm speculating, if he deliberately tried to contact Rachelle and got the numbers around the wrong way, that was really common at the time because we just didn't keep phone numbers in our phone.
Kevin told police after finishing work at Camden Holden, he went straight to Campbelltown to go shopping. To do that, he'd have to travel over the Razorback Ridge. Here's an actor voicing part of his statement to detectives.
I obviously didn't get through and never bothered it again. So obviously the reason I rang was something to do with work relation. There was no answer. He was engaged or something. You know, whether it was a sale or whether it wasn't a sale or whether the people were coming back, I can't recall. So it wasn't relevant, I don't think.
We supplied Dr Sorrell with mobile phone data maps from the brief.
What you've told me so far is about 4 telephone calls that were made from the main suspect, and you've identified in that information which base station that connected to. And what struck me immediately was the first call at 6:08 p.m. from a base station in Picton at a time when our suspect says that he was in Campbelltown. And I took one look at the map and went, that is unlikely. I don't think it's possible. And as we've modelled that, as we've gone into understanding where the radio signal's gone, our conclusion is that alibi that he could have been in Campbelltown is just impossible, just could not happen. So then it leads to the next question, which is, if he wasn't in Campbelltown, where could he have been? And I want to investigate that a little bit today.
We're in his office, and Dr Sorrell is talking me through his analysis using 3-dimensional modelling maps. Do you believe that the modern technology that you have access to could help to solve Rachelle's case?
I think it can drive us forwards. Whether it actually solves it is a different matter, because that's really a legal question. But what we can do using modern digital models of the environment, as well as road conditions and that sort of thing, we can identify what scenarios are plausible and what are not. And that may very well be something that drives this case forward. No promises, but best efforts. So our analysis will show you what's possible. And some of the things that might be possible might appear to be incriminating for our main suspect. But we also need to be open to the possibilities that provide alternative explanations. We know that the dealership and the suspect's home address is up here in Camden. We know that he says he was in Campbelltown when he made the 608 phone call. But the 608 phone call connects via Picton, and Picton cannot possibly reach Campbelltown because we've got the Razorback Ridge in the way. And our modelling shows that the radio signal simply can't get past that ridge. So the alibi is broken. Further, if he were in Campbelltown at 608, I'd expect one of these neighbouring base stations around the Campbelltown area to pick up that connection. So we're quite sure about that. At 608, where was he? Well, he could have been in Picton, southern Picton. He could have been in Tarmore. He could have been somewhere in between. If he was as far south as Bargo, then it's more likely that the Yandera base station would have connected that call. So that places the 608 phone call in this sort of area, Picton, Tarmore. I'm sure about that. The alibi is weird. Why Campbelltown? Why at 608? Why be so adamant about it? Why place yourself so far away from Picton? That question bothers me, because the alibi seems to make no sense to me.
There was always this belief that the 608 phone call made by Kevin Carell was highly unlikely to have been made in Campbelltown. You've taken it one step further. Can you prove that this 608 phone call was not made in Campbelltown or that area?
So there are two things that point to it being impossible. The first is that if the phone were in Campbelltown, there's half a dozen base stations in the Campbelltown area which are much closer, which would provide that coverage in that space. Now, it is possible that you can connect to a more distant base station under some bizarre geographical circumstances, and we do see that in modern records. But we're already dealing with that's very highly improbable. When we actually look at where the base station is in Picton, it's on the wrong side of the Razorback Ridge. And when I say the wrong side, there is no way that radio signal can get over the ridge and connect into Campbelltown. Or, more importantly, the other direction. The phone itself doesn't have enough power for that signal to come up over the ridge and diffract back to the base station. That signal would just not be detectable. So we can demonstrate to you today that that radio signal just isn't possible, and that even if it were, there are base stations around that would pick up the phone, half a dozen of them between Picton and Campbelltown, where that connection would have occurred. So there's two different things. We can show that there's an alternative, but we can also show that this is just not physically possible to occur. And so on that basis, I have to conclude, and I rarely conclude this strongly, that connection just can't happen.
Impossible.
Just impossible. Okay, now the 7:38 p.m. occurred via the Narellan base station. Now, the Narellan base station is very close to where the Holden dealership was, where both the suspect and the victim, Rachelle, worked. But he has to be in that Camden, Narellan area at 7:38.
And what about the 7:43 phone call? Where did that connect to? And what are the possibilities of where he could have been?
So that was also via Narellan. Now, I haven't seen the antenna directions for that, but 7:38 and 7:43 are in the same general area. If the phone's moved in between, it hasn't moved very far.
So those 3 later phone calls are likely to suggest that he was in those areas where he says he was.
Yes, so the 6:38 connecting via Picton, his story is that he was in Picton, and that lines up. But 7:38, 7:43, he's connecting in Narellan, and that makes much more sense that his phone is in that area around Narellan, could be at or close to home in Camden, or could be at or around the Holden dealership where he worked. It is possible that after work, he may well have gone into Campbelltown. Just from an investigative experience, which is limited, most alibis have an element of truth or truthiness about them. But in order for this phone call to occur at 6:08, he's got to get from Campbelltown all the way down to Picton. That's about a 40-minute trip. So this seems to be a rushed visit to Campbelltown, if it occurred at all. But why so adamant that he's in Campbelltown when the call occurs in Picton? As we piece those pieces together around the movements that he has given us, particularly being in Picton around 6:45 until just before 7, that fits the next phone call. Why is he so careful to say that he's not in Picton at 6:08 or south of Picton at 6:08? That's weird. Where was he, in fact, at 7:38, 7:43? Is it possible, we know he connected to Narellan. Was he close to home? Was he close to work? Was he in the suburbs around here?
There are no other known phone calls from Kevin's mobile that evening. Rachelle's last known contact with anyone was just after 5 p.m, while she was driving home from Camden. It's believed she made it home to Bargo. 9 hours later, her burning body was discovered 100 kilometres away at 7 Mile Beach, Jirowa. So the killer and Rachelle have covered a lot of ground. We don't know where she was killed or at what time. Keep in mind, there was a lot of suspicious activity with the car, described as a similar model to Rachelle's blue Holden, in and around Jirowa over a 4-hour period. But her car was found parked by someone out the back of the Bargo Hotel. It's also very likely the killer needed petrol during the night to fill up Rachelle's car if it was to make it to the south coast, and also to light the fire.
So we've looked at the movements after 2 o'clock in the morning. We know that Rachelle's personal items were dumped on the road to Berry. That indicates a westward movement. We know that there are 2 routes that you can take to get back to Bargo. One through Wollongong, one through Bowral. The fact that the car moves west first towards Berry, and the fact that going that way and up the freeway, up the Hume motorway, takes you through fewer highly populated areas, I would suggest that's the more likely route, is to go up that way. We need to also remember that whoever did this knows their way around not only Bargo, but also Picton, also Camden, also Jirowa. We're not relying on the electronic maps we have these days. We don't have a GPS unit in our car. We don't have a smartphone with an app that gives us the fastest route. These were the days where if you wanted to drive from Sydney to Melbourne, right, you'd go into the NRMA and they'd give you the strip maps that would take you on the route, right? You had a street directory in your car. That's how we worked back then. And that street directory probably only covered Sydney. it probably didn't cover all of New South Wales. So you're dealing here with somebody who knows their way around this area. That's an important insight to consider. You've shown me transcripts from the coronial inquest, and I have to accept that at face value. My preference would be to see the primary documents that Vodafone supplied to investigators.
Kristy has been asking the coroner for the withheld sections of her sister's brief of evidence weekly for months on end.
So as you guys know, we only have a small part of the brief. I have been trying for probably about 18 months now to try and get the full brief. Mum and I, Mum being the senior next of kin, requested the entire brief and the autopsy report, which we also don't have. And that request was denied because the coroner said that it was an active investigation. At that point in time, it was not. So I spoke to the police, and they eventually said that they would actually support us reading the entire brief, but not having a copy of it. So my understanding of that would be that we would need to go to the court and we'd be given access to it. But, we wouldn't have the ability to take copies or take it with us. And we're really happy about that. So the unsolved homicide support us having access to that. So we put through another form to the coroner with their support. And this has been going on for a couple of months now, where I call them weekly and speak to a different person every week. And I am told that someone will call me back, and no one does. And then I speak to a new person, and then they can't find the form, and then they don't have the email. And it's been a really frustrating process. And I still don't have access to the rest of the brief or the autopsy report. And I think that a lot of this comes down to the processes that the coroner's court uses. It's like it's in the dark ages, if you ask me.
Some of the other information Kristy and our team are keen to examine includes police interviews, call records, forensic reports, and dozens of statements. Would you be happy to participate in any future court proceedings involving Rachelle's case?
Well, I've worked on 400 cases in the last 8 years. This one's a little older. It's using technology that we decommissioned by 2016, but it's a familiar space. It's within my professional remit, but it's also within that remit of justice. So the consulting, the work that we do is about justice and closure. So with the appropriate evidence that has the right provenance, then we can move this forward.
And would you be willing to help New South Wales Police on Rachelle's case?
Sure. This is a technology that I grew up with professionally. If those records exist and they need a new pair of eyes on them, this is a really familiar space. I'd really like to see, if we had them, the records from Rachelle's phone, because that would tell me where she was approximately at these different times as well.
Could Dr Sorrell's analysis be a piece of hard evidence detectives need to finally charge someone after all this time? New South Wales Police quietly reactivated Strikeforce TLAP, the investigation into Rachelle's homicide, in January 2025. In the last 18 months, the Dear Rachelle podcast investigation has uncovered new leads and witnesses, including an alleged Walkinshaw sighting, suspicious newspaper clippings found hidden under carpet, and disturbing allegations linked to the prime suspect, Kevin Carell. What action, if any, the Unsolved Homicide Squad is taking remains unclear. But when it comes to police and cold cases, silence isn't always stillness. Bear in mind, Kevin Carell strenuously denies any involvement in Rachelle's murder and has never been charged. He has willingly participated in 3 interviews with police and provided his DNA to investigators. A coroner presiding over Rachelle's inquest made an open finding.
Go, Shane, go! It's the distance, we've got it before. No, we're not. Shane's a bit of a crazy bastard. Oh, go. Go, you good thing. You put it in a second here and it'll go sideways. Here we come.
Dear Shell, I don't think I've written you a letter since my eulogy, or maybe the letter I put in your coffin. I think I remember us putting in a packet of smokes and a bottle of Jim Beam too. I talk to you a lot, so it's weird writing you a letter that I know the whole country is going to hear me read. But here goes. Just like my letter to Dad at his funeral, I have 5 things to say to you. Number 1, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I was too caught up in my own teenage world to call you back. It is my biggest regret. I'm so sorry I wasn't there at home waiting for you, talking to you about your day, finding clothes for you to wear, feeding the animals so you didn't have to after working all day. I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you like you always were for me. I'm sorry I didn't take more notice at the time. I thought you were okay. I didn't look around enough or take notice of what was out of place. I'm really sorry that the world now knows every single detail about your life and that you definitely have no privacy. Speaking of sorries, I'm sorry your car looks like a rough old piece of junk. I'm sorry it has dents in it, that the paint is peeling off it, and that I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it. Lastly, I'm sorry I haven't caught him. I'm sorry he has had more years of freedom after taking your life than you had years on Earth.
So many people carry regrets about Rachelle's case. Remember Mick Ashwood, who reviewed Rachelle's homicide investigation in 2003?
My personal regret is that I didn't lead the investigation. I was at one stage asked to, but my workload was, each team in the task force has, probably carries about 2 or 3 of these complex homicide investigations. I remember I had about 5 and I was just drowning, and I was working in different parts of the state at the time. And I just said to my boss, I can't do this. So a lot of regrets. But what was very difficult was in my position previously, I was not able to discuss outside the New South Wales government these things. And some senior constable believed on a simplistic version that thought that he could solve it. When there's so many processes in place, at the time in crime agency and then state crime command to stop that sort of thing happening, that's subjective male bias.
Just to be clear about what you're saying, are you saying that Rachelle's case may not have been solved because of misogyny?
Yes. And I think misogyny and people call it in simple terms male ego, but there's many layers to that. And misogyny is you have a male leads a homicide case. A male is the supervisor. A male is the superintendent. A male is the deputy commissioner. A male is the assistant commissioner. There's not much chance to getting understanding our bias when we just used to walk into a room as men with considerable authority and power when you're a detective. So the reason for coming to this podcast is that after many years in the public service, I can see an opportunity now that this could be solved. I've seen that now with a couple other podcasts in the past, and I think the community should get behind them. It's still solvable.
Why is the Unsolved Homicide Squad in New South Wales so under-resourced?
I think this is my opinion, it's an evolution of a worldwide, across Western democracies, to have an unsolved homicide unit because there were so many cases were unsolved. As a percentage, it's not that high, but they're often the child homicide, sexual homicide, serial homicide, organised crime. They're the hard ones. I think it's 95 to 98% are solved by the local police within 48 hours. But there's ones like this where there's clearly been staging involved with her vehicle and her body. You've got to eliminate that someone else became involved in moving the body after the killer, because killers go through depression after they've killed someone and their behaviour changes.
I also asked counsel assisting the coroner, Peter Singleton, how detrimental was the lack of homicide involvement in the very beginning?
Potentially significant. One can never know what the alternative facts would have been, but there were, I think it's fair to say, a number of defects with the original police investigation.
Do you think the failings in the beginning of the investigation has led this case to be unsolved for over 2 decades now?
I think it's contributed to that. No doubt my own inability to crack the case is also a contributing factor, and there'll be other factors. But in the end, my job is just to question people, and I don't want to excuse any deficiencies in it, but the most important evidence doesn't come from lawyers. Most cases are solvable, and very often it is because the evidence is gathered in the first couple of days. And that opportunity was lost here for some evidence. The coroner attended to her formal legal duty. I should add this, she did make recommendations. And she made a very, if I may say, with respect to Her Honour, a well-crafted recommendation for improving police investigative procedures, the thrust of which was that the homicide squad needed to be involved from the beginning in such a matter, and it needed to decide whether or not to hold on to the matter or to delegate an investigation to local police.
Do you think it's possible to solve this case after so many years?
This case is probably solvable, but it's unlikely to be solved. If it's going to be solved, probably somebody, such as yourself, who's just re-examining the whole thing with a fresh eye, will spot some pattern or some piece of evidence that the rest of us overlooked. I'm hopeful that will happen. But it's not likely that any new evidence will be found because it's too late for forensic evidence in all likelihood. There's always the possibility of some forensic evidence, but it seems unlikely. It's highly unlikely that the murderer will ever tell anyone.
Do you have any personal regrets about the way that you handled Rachelle's inquest?
In a broad sense. I'm sure that if I had worked harder, perhaps been a little smarter, but I think one can't help that, but one could have worked a little harder and maybe got a little bit further with it. I'm not saying I could have cracked this case, but no doubt I could have done better.
You and your family would have had a lot to do with Peter Singleton throughout the inquest.
Yeah.
How do you consider him and his work that he dedicated to the case?
He's incredible, incredibly intelligent man. So thoughtful and insightful and professional. He worked really, really hard, and he was really, really lovely towards us. We had a really good relationship. We, go and have breakfast together and things like that. Yeah, he was fantastic.
He is one of many men and women who have lent their voice to the podcast. Just in general, what does that mean for you to have all these people speaking out?
Well, it definitely makes my heart happy. And I think even in death, she's that lovable that there are so many people who just want to help and get justice for her. Yeah, it goes to show the impact that she made even in death, and the impact that her case and the injustice surrounding it has had on everyone involved.
Are you finished? Are you finished? Stop!
Number 2, I miss you. I miss you so much that sometimes it can be physically painful. I miss your smile. I miss your wit. I even miss you rolling in like a tornado at 6 a.m, stealing my clothes and swearing at the iron. I miss how you could read me like a book, how you knew exactly what I needed and what to say to make me feel okay. I miss our talks. I miss how we would sit there and pick on poor Mum and laugh at Dad for forever falling asleep anywhere he stopped. I miss those belly laughs, the chaos and the energy you brought to my life every day. I really miss having a big sister to protect me, to watch out for me, and to just be my rock.
How much have you missed her over all these years?
I've missed events and missed everything. Even when Kristy got married, she should have been there, you know. And that's a big one. Just lots of family moments and occasions that she was very missed.
I don't know, she would just light up the room when she walked in. She was hilarious, really caring.
But she just constantly did things that crack you up. She would fill in one of those vegetable things in a fridge with a punch or something. You'd just go straight to the thing and pour your drink from that. And I can't even think, there's so many. She just made you laugh.
Hey? Yeah, I'll just get him come around this corner. Oh, number 5. This is the hairy corner.
It should have been who did the fastest lap. Come
Come
on!
on, fellas. They put their best driver in.
Number 3, thank you. Thank you for bringing me out of my shell, for showing me how to laugh at life and enjoy the hell out of it. Thank you for teaching me to have gravel in my guts and to stand up for what's right. Thank you for protecting me and for loving me even though I was a pain in the ass. Thank you for the memories and for being my best friend. Thank you.
Rachelle was a best friend to many, like Fiona and Lisa.
She would have been a great mum. She would have been surrounded by animals, all the horses, dogs. She would have had it all. So I think she would have been a country girl at heart.
I finally went and visited Shell's grave on Sunday. I sat down next to her. I cried. Then I felt a sense of peace come over me, and I got up and I left, feeling sad, empty, lost, but peaceful and resolved that I'd finally gone to visit.
Security guard Craig Duck will never forget the night he found Rachelle. And like a growing number of supporters, he now has the words Team Shell inked on his chest.
I'm now going through PTSD. I feel for her mum and dad, her family. I have had nothing but every year I just think for her family and what they're going through. And I wish I could have been there sooner for her, but I couldn't. I wanted to help. I just want to be there for them. I know I've seen the bad side of it, and they probably don't want to know that. But I just want to send my love and my condolences to them.
Kristy's best friend, Mindy Wicks, also has a Team Shell tattoo. She's been unwavering in her support of Kristy and relentless in her quest to find answers.
How proud are you to be a part of something like this that could potentially lead to a breakthrough in the case?
Yeah, it's a big one.
I'm proud of you. Told her she'd cry.
Yeah. There's moments in life that you're not so proud of and those that you are, and this is probably right up there.
What would it mean to you as Rachelle's mum to know that someone was held accountable for her murder?
It'd be great. It'd be awesome. But I just really am annoyed that they've had 23 years of life and she'll die when she was 23. And they've been having a lovely time, and we haven't had her with us.
That person has taken so much from us. It's taken everything from Rachelle. And, the fact that they get to walk around and enjoy life and have a family and achieve things, it makes me sick. Makes me really mad, actually, but, I try and keep a lid on that.
What do you think Graham and Rachelle would think about you and Kristy doing this podcast and driving this campaign for justice?
They'd be amazed. And hats off to Kristy, because she instigated all of this. And they'd be very, very proud, very proud. But yeah, just blown me away. I've told her that too.
Here we have Rachelle Childs suiting up for her qualifying stint. Is it going to be a blinder?
What if I can't get the fucking helmet on?
Number 4. I hope we have made you proud. I hope you are proud of me, Mum, Mindy, Ash, and the ever-growing Team Shell. I hope you love the voice we have given you and the way the country has fallen in love with you. I hope you are proud of all the beautiful women who have come forward to tell their painful stories to help us find justice for you. What a powerful voice we have given you. Just as loud and as bright as you were in life. He took your future, but look how you have found a way to still shine.
If that girl was me, my mother would have fought tooth and nail to get justice.
If I can do anything that is going to put him away and stop, he would still be doing the same sort of thing.
It's not about us, it's about getting her justice now. Our time's over and he can't hurt us anymore. He doesn't scare me at all anymore.
I just couldn't stand the thought of what that poor mother and her sister and her father are going through. But if I could help in any little way, it'd be probably one of the good things that I've done in my life.
Talking about how much I love my dad and the good things that most people wouldn't know feels horrible. It hurts. It hurts a lot to openly declare this, but it needs to happen.
We're just cooling the car down.
He's asking questions.
Drop a set, hun. This is where it all happens. You got your little speedo. You got your seats. You got it all. Roll cage.
Number 5, I see you. All the signs, I see them. The number plates, the feathers, the numbers, and the people that you place in my path. I can feel you with me, which sounds batshit crazy, but you're there. I feel close to you again. I feel closer to you than I have felt in a really long time. And I won't stop fighting for you. I won't stop pushing, whinging, advocating, finding, fighting, making noise, throwing tantrums, and being annoying until one of 2 things happens. A life sentence is handed down, or B, I die. Don't worry, if B comes before A, Team Shell will take over until we achieve A. It was always about you, Shell, never about the story. You are so much more than the end of your life. You are so special, so brave, so funny, loyal, kind, and so loved.
Oh man, go hun! Lose it, lose it. Go bub, here we go.
Love you, Smelly. Love, Krusty.
Last minute words before you go out on the track. Go hard or go home. And this is the beginning lesson. We're going to watch Rachelle go slow.
Coming. What's my sheeting?
Sheeting.
Sheets. Thanks, Walter, for your car. Good practice.
Dear Shell, I hope that what we're doing here sits okay with you. It doesn't sit right with me at all. It's purely a matter of necessity. It breaks my heart yet again to have your life shared with such a massive, worldwide audience. Yet in the same breath, it warms my heart as I read your families, your friends, and even strangers' beautiful thoughts, words and experiences regarding you and how you were in life. You are such a presence. I'm sure both you and Dad are so proud of Kris and Team Shell and what they've achieved in the last 12 months. They won't rest until someone has been held responsible, made accountable, and brought to justice for taking you away from us so early. You most definitely did not deserve this, Bubs. So bear with us, my beautiful girl, as we navigate our way through. We all love you to the moon and beyond. Love, Mum.
Bear with us too. Behind the scenes, our investigative team has been working furiously chasing new leads. The paperboy from a tiny coastal town just north of Jiroa has come forward. Damian Loone and I went to meet Matt Wilson at Gerringong in the hope it would trigger his memory from 24 years ago.
How quiet is this street usually at 1:30 in the morning?
Oh, dead. Yeah, like I said, you drop a pin. Like I said, I can hear a car coming from the top end of the street, or even starting from the top of there coming down. So it's, yeah, pretty quiet. And usually, once I hear something, I'm normally up and about just to have a look just to see what's happening.
What were you doing at the time?
I was employed as a delivery for the papers, so I deliver the papers to the customers. I call it the graveyard shift because the hours. Late at night, 12 o'clock onwards to 5:30 in the morning.
Take us back to that night in June 2001. What do you remember?
Well, that night I remember the 7th was the Thursday night. It had been raining pretty substantially up home, and I decided to come down early to get the papers off the street before the rain got to them. So I got down here about 11:30 at night, which is an hour before that I would have normally arrived.
We know Rachelle, her killer, and her car likely covered more than 200 kilometres that night. And just like every phone call, every stop and every sighting is pivotal. What the paperboy witnessed that night Rachelle was murdered could spark a major breakthrough in the case.
At about 1:30 in the morning, a rough guess because 24 years ago is a long time, and I just heard a bit of a noise. The car was going over the pedestrian crossing up there, so I decided to get up, have a good look at the door. I was looking up the street and I looked up and I noticed two cars are coming down the street. The first car was a dark blue Commodore, tinted windows, mag wheels, and it had black plates with white writing on it. Recollection, I'm pretty sure GV 2000 was the plate on it.
GV 2000, that's Rachelle's number plate.
I sort of stepped back a bit because I noticed the vehicle behind was probably a car to car length behind it, so reasonably close, so they wouldn't see me deliberately looking at them. I also noticed that the car in front, it looked like a male figure in the driver's seat. But that's all I could see because of the darkness and the weather-wise. The second car, I don't know what model it was. It was a sedan. The colour, again, it's been so long, yellow or red. It wasn't brown, blue, pink or whatever. It was yellow or red. I just got those colours stuck in my head.
How vivid is that night in your memory?
Very vivid. I remember, a lot of the details down to like it was cold, it been rain, reflections of the road. It's dead silence. We'll see how noisy it is when cars go past now.
Is it unusual for 1:30 in the morning for two motor vehicles coming down here together?
Yes.
And you would know that because you're out here working?
Yeah.
Well, that's important.
Quite regularly see the odd things, so yes.
You mentioned you had this instinct to duck when you saw that second car.
Yes.
Why?
Just the way they were travelling, like, it looked like they possibly could have been together. And usually my instinct is, there's two cars, one person in the shot, I don't want to draw attention to myself, so that's why I sort of stepped back a bit more and looked like I was looking at the shelves.
Were you working in the shop alone?
Yes.
When did you realise it was a significant sighting?
Well, a couple of days after Rachelle was found down at Jarawa, they did a news conference on the news, and we were sitting down there having dinner, and I just went to my mum and dad, that's the car that I was still comfortably jaring on. I said the plate.
How soon did you go to police after Rachelle's murder?
Probably might have been a couple of days, or maybe, a week.
When you saw that police appeal?
Yes, when I saw the appeal on the TV, and they were floating the photo about the car around, and...
You recall you telling an officer your version of events?
I told him my version of events.
And you recall signing that in a notebook?
A notebook.
A notebook,
yeah,
okay.
It wasn't typed up in any format.
Well, that would probably be that it was a uniformed constable at the front counter of a police station. Otherwise, under a criminal investigation, a typed statement would have been taken. So, it's probably, if it hasn't come into evidence, that notebook's probably been filed.
How hopeful are you that that statement still exists?
Oh, absolutely, it's still there. It's in that police officer's notebook. You have to, they're accountable, they call what they call accountable books in the police force. And once your book is exhausted, you have to have a new one. You're issued a new one by usually an inspector. That's handed back and given to the public servant staff, and they index that number and they file it away, and it's boxed up and sent to archives. This is really important information. In the early hours of Friday morning, Matt, the witness, sees and recalls a blue Commodore coming down this road behind me, travelling south, about 1:30am in the morning. Now, we know Rachelle's body was found shortly after 2am on the Friday morning. And that would mean, and it's not far from here, so critically important here is a timestamp of what he saw at the time. And as we know, by the time we get from here down to where the crime scene was, where Rachelle's body was found, it would just shortly be before 2am. And thereafter, a security guard found her body alight in the scrubland on the Crooked River Road.
How significant is Matt as a witness in this case?
Absolute critical.
How would you describe the information that Matt has so kindly shared?
Compelling, believable, accurate, and it has stayed in his mind because he saw something on that night and that it made him to look out onto the roadway, and then he sees the homicide days later in the media, and he said, that's the car I saw, and he quickly tells his mum and dad at dinner time, and then within a day or a few days later, he's reporting what he saw to Warilla Police Station. And it's critical because we have the time, what weeknight it was, and within half an hour of Rachelle's body being found.
Do you think the Unsolved Homicide Squad would be keen to speak to Matt?
Absolutely. Thanks for coming forward.
No, my pleasure. I wish I did it sooner,
You did the right thing.
You did come forward.
You did come forward.
I honestly, like I said, once I didn't get no confirmation back with the report, I just gone, oh well. Yeah. But I shouldn't have been like that. I know that now.
No. You did the right thing. Yeah. But as I said, this is so important to these cold cases where this evidence comes to light that may have been mislaid or misplaced during the initial investigation. And this now, what you witness is so important and crucial because, as I said earlier, it gives us a time, it gives us a time of night, a day, and also within half an hour of Rachelle's body being found, not far from here. And within an easy 15-minute drive from here. So it just puts it so significantly appropriate at the time that he saw the car, that Matt saw those two cars travelling down this road, particularly one of them we know more than likely and more than highly likely it's Rachelle's.
Police are currently enhancing CCTV from the night. So now this possible two-car theory, will that be something they'll be looking at?
Oh, absolutely, I'd say so, yeah. And you'd be silly not to. You have to eliminate that second vehicle. And we know that the first one now, by what Matt's told me and yourself, it has to be, out of the possibilities, it has to be her car. So what's the significant interest of the second car, if it comes into play at all? But you have to eliminate it now.
If that second car is related, does that open up more opportunities with CCTV for that car being located, potentially spotted on a CCTV camera getting the fuel?
Absolutely, because now we have not only one car, we're looking for two. And the investigation will be looking for a similar make and model of car that Matt's described, even though it's a sedan, possibly two different colours. But if they're seen in concert with a blue Commodore in a service station somewhere and another vehicle pulls up beside it, it may be the case that that registration may be obtained through enhancement of any CCTV that the police may have hold of or obtained in the early days after the investigation. You have to ask yourself, were they travelling in tandem together, or was it the fact that one car was travelling slow and the other car behind was travelling quicker and was trying to tailgate, trying to find an overtaking lane quicker? Because, as you know, this is a 50-kilometre-hour zone through here. It's a small street, it's narrow, and you're heading up to a long incline. But at 1:30 in the morning, two of them together, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But this is the first time we've ever heard of two vehicles. But why does the second vehicle come into play so importantly when we know that Rachelle's vehicle had been used because the club lock was put on the wrong way? So it had to be her car being driven. Well, why is it unnecessary for having two cars?
Could we be looking for two offenders?
Could be. Quite possibly. Quite possibly. But you can't. You have to really eliminate that second vehicle if it's going to be a vehicle of interest or not.
One person who won't be surprised by the sighting of a second car is FBI-trained criminal profiler Kris Illingsworth. In 2003, she worked on Rachelle's case, and it stuck with her. Now as a retired detective, she's been looking over the case again and can offer a more detailed analysis about what she believes happened to Rachelle and the type of person or people who could be responsible.
She's now deceased. He has to decide what to do. I believe there'd be panic. So does he deal with it all on his own, or does he get a second? Does he dial a friend? Does he go somewhere and get some help? I think it's more likely he got some help. There's some very strong indicators that there was someone there who had extensive knowledge about forensic awareness.
Like the rest of us, Kris is trying to figure out where exactly Rachelle was killed.
Firstly, the sheet that was found a couple of kilometres from the body obviously has something to do with the crime. It's come from the rear of her car, and it was actually holding up the vertical spare tyre in the rear boot. So that sheet has to be, and her car, ergo, has to be close to the murder scene. Because the sheet's not used, it's my understanding, my recollection, the sheet's not used to drag the body at the crime site, at the body disposal site. Like, no drag marks. It was a wet night, no dirt, nothing like that on the sheet. So the sheet's not got anything to do with the actual disposal site, but it's got something to do with the murder. Then why not just leave the sheet there? Why would you go to the effort of hiding it? Why not just put the sheet back into the boot where it came from, next to the tyre? Who's going to be any the wiser? So that says that this offender was very aware of the likelihood of physical evidence on that sheet, and that evidence would be the offender's DNA. So the offender's very aware, I believe, of these things. It shows a very high awareness in 2001. So to me, that speaks to criminality, criminal thinking, criminal experience. And if you don't have that experience yourself, then someone who you can call upon who does have that experience. And that person could be from the criminal milieu or could be someone who's involved in the criminal justice system, such as lawyers would know this stuff and police officers would know this stuff. So I think the person has got help from someone who's got that sort of knowledge. And getting rid of the sheet is really significant, both to the offender and in the crime analysis. Most likely, the offender is then, well, I think he's got that second person to help, and the second person has probably come to the location. And there's been a decision made about what to do, how to dispose of all this evidence, and how to make it look like something that it's not. And the something that it's not part is the staged car scene at the rear of Bargo Pub. So that's staged. We know it's staged because Rachelle didn't drive it there. She didn't park it there. Steering lock is upside down. It's not the way she would put it. The car seat's not in the right position for her. And there's something else that I won't say on your podcast, but something else that strongly indicates that the offender, well, actually it proves that she didn't drive it, someone else did just there. So the only reason to do that, to put the car there, would be to make it look like something that's not, staged crime scene. And the only people who stage crime scenes are the people who feel that they can be connected closely to the victim and to the murder in some way. So they're trying to misdirect the investigation by making it look like something that it's not.
All the experts agree Rachelle knew and trusted her killer. Now we're asking, did someone help cover it up? Maybe they had no idea about what they were getting involved in. It's a heavy secret to carry for all these years. Did Kevin Carell lie about some of his movements on the night of the murder? And why blame bikies? You've heard Kristy come back to the theory. Was Rachelle lured to her death with the promise of a Walkinshaw? But whatever the theory or motive, justice needs to be served. It's long overdue. The injustice plays on all of our minds.
Look, I think after every episode, we're getting closer to the truth and what really happened and who or those person or persons may be responsible. It's about knowing that this 23-year-old girl, and she's been dead longer than she was alive, and the parents, and unfortunately her father's passed away, but Mum and Anne and Sister Kristy and all friends have never had an outcome or closure. And I think we owe that to not only to the community, but to the victims of crime that have experienced such a disastrous and tragic murder, where the young girl, Rachelle, was just basically dumped by the side of the road and set alight. And that's callous. And it shows no regard for human life. And that motivates me to help. And I'm always, in particularly matters like these, and I'm happy to continue help and help where I can. And look, provide some expertise, which I've gained as a detective and a police officer for over 35 years. And if that may help, well, I hope it does. And I think I'm on the right track saying that. And I think it's important that we don't lose the sight of what the real objective is.
Any final thoughts? What keeps you up at night about this case?
I've got the brief. I read it daily. I make little notes. What happened that night? Why did it happen? How she was feeling when all this was going on. There would have been some violence, placed upon her at the time. She would have been attacked, fearful. What was she thinking? And what was in the mind of the killer or killers? Why? And that's what I want to know. And as I said, we've got new witnesses coming forward, and one particularly that's explosive about what they saw on that Thursday night when Rachelle, passed away. You've got to wonder, anyone else out there that knows something and saw something back that's so important but hasn't come forward. And I just wish that this podcast will reach out to them so they can come forward. It's a heavy burden to carry for the rest of your life. You'd be constantly looking over your shoulder. If you know something that you can assist the authorities with the apprehension of the offender or offenders, please, for the sake of the family, for the sake of Rachelle, and for the sake of all victims of crime where we haven't had closure, please come forward.
It's ultimately up to police to lay charges, and we know they've reopened the investigation. With millions of people now following Rachelle's case, are those responsible for ending her life about to be exposed? Could you hold the key to this? Thank you to the experts and witnesses who all generously volunteered their time to participate in Dear Rachelle. I'm especially grateful to have worked closely with retired Detective Damian Loone. Because of those contributors, we've learnt so much more about Rachelle, her murder, and the people in her life. Finally, thank you to Rachelle's family for trusting me with their fight. We're not done with our investigation. We've got so much more work to do, and as soon as we're ready, we'll be back. So please, keep these voices in your hearts and minds.
I'm a shit video recorder. I'm all over the shop, eh? Go your good thing. You put it in a second here and it'll go sideways. Yep, stay in the draft, hun.
In loving memory of my daughter.
And my sister, Shell.
And we have one of the members of Rocky's team.
Yes.
Yep. And the other.
Alive.
And me.
Hey, Brocky.
Dear Rachelle is a multimedia production from True Crime Australia. If you want to be one of the first to find out what happens next, go to dearrachelle.com.au. That's where eligible Digital News Corp Australia subscribers get early access to podcast episodes and breaking news in our live investigation. And you will also find exclusive videos, interactive evidence, feature articles and more. That's dearrachelle.com.au. If you have any tips or confidential information to share with me, Ashlea Hansen, please send an email to dearrachelle@news.com.au. Our supervising producer and audio editor is Reese Gunter. Rachel Fountain is executive producer and audio director. Our executive editor is Sarah Blake. Our senior journalist is Patrick Carline. Video editors are Gillian McNally, Owen Yang and Stephen Woods. Picture editors are Jeff Darmanin and Kristy Miller. Senior camera operators are Daniel Andrews and Oscar Vieira, with sound design by Martin Peralta and Travis Evans. Thanks also to Greg Thompson, Eleni Paneras, Shoba Rayo, Faye Gould, Vanessa Graham, Hayley Goddard, Stephen Grice, Charlotte Karp, Tina Coggins and Harry Hughes. Special thanks to the Daily Telegraph editor Ben English. And Dear Rachelle would not be possible without the help and unwavering support of Kristy and Anne Childs, Mindy Wicks, Damian Loone and Rachelle's friends. This podcast series is hosted and investigated by me, Ashlea Hansen.